Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast,
where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and on today's episode, we're going to determine the greatest Disney movie soundtrack of all time.
Wow, that is a big undertaking.
And it is also big shoes to fill. I feel like calling it that, like the greatest of all time, is really opening us up to some negative feedback on this, depending on what we pick.
Yeah, you know what? We'll take any feedback, negative, positive, or other.
Right. So we're going to do Disney animated movies that were released in theaters. So it's not going to be, like the High School Musical movies or the Descendants movies, because that's, if we open it up to everything, we'll be here for the next year.
Yeah, it's too much. I actually originally put, and we'll talk about this, but I originally put The Lion King 2 in this list, and yeah, we ruled that one out with, but there's some honorable mentions, so I'll bring it up during the show.
The greatest Disney animated soundtrack of all time. So to talk through the criteria of this, we were doing just Disney movies, so that excludes anything Pixar related. It is theatrical releases, so things that were just straight to video or TV is not on there. It's animated, so again, we're not doing High School Musical or The Descendants. And we're starting this with the Disney Renaissance and The Little Mermaid. Now, I know there were some films before that were musicals, like The Jungle Book, Aristocats.
Yeah.
Not really covering those because I feel like they don't hold up compared to the more modern Disney stuff.
They have some songs that really pop and people know them. Everybody Wants to Be a Cat or Bare Necessities or I Want to Be Like You. So there's two from the Jungle Book, and they're great songs, but as far as a full musical soundtrack is concerned, they don't quite have that. It's sort of like how, we have Mulan on this list. Mulan has, I guess it has more songs than that, but it's not in the same vein.
And we listened, so we did a road trip a couple weeks ago, and we made a playlist, and there was over 100 songs, and it was 6 hours of Disney music. So we listened to all of these songs from all these movies, and we listened to some of the songs from Jungle Book, and they're just not that good when you listen to them. No, in terms of compared to the other stuff, because and we'll get into this with some of the movies. We're looking at it from a soundtrack perspective,
So as a whole.
No. We're looking at it from a soundtrack perspective in that listening to the full song. So in the movie with the animation, some of these songs hit a lot differently. Yeah. But when you listen to the entire song of Bare Necessities, it's a pretty long song with just, a minute of just
it's a lot of instrumentals, and you're not seeing what's going on.
Exactly.
So I think that's where you're trying to go.
So that's
not that those are bad songs.
So that's my point of just listening to it from that perspective. It just isn't as strong.
Yeah, we actually had a lot of surprises while we were listening where there were songs that we were like, these are the best Disney songs. And we're like, it's missing something without the animation. And there were other songs, I know that there was at least one in particular I'm sure you're going to talk about that you were like, I don't really even like this movie that much, but the music is insane.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot like this. There's a lot that some of my favorite movies, just listening to the music, again, compared to the 100 other ones we listened to, I was like, that actually doesn't do as well without the animation. And then there were some I was like, what's this from? This is really good. So, and when you're going through this, you have to make cuts. Again, there's just so many songs, so many musical movies that Disney has done. You have to pare it down at some point. So the soundtracks that we are including are The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Lion King, A Goofy Movie, Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Frozen, Moana, Frozen 2, Encanto, Wish, and Moana 2. So those are all of the ones that we are including. I know you wanted to include Lion King too, but again,
I did.
Kind of cutting that one off because it wasn't theatrical released, but that has some great songs in it too.
It does. I think that, I've recently watched a lot of the the twos. I haven't watched all of them, but I've watched like Brother Bear 2. I just watched Mulan 2. I watched Goofy Movie 2.
There's a Mulan 2?
Yeah, there is.
Is there a 2 for like every movie? I didn't even know all these existed.
Yeah, I haven't watched I know there's a second Beauty and the Beast.
No, there's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they made a second Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, they went through that whole period where they were doing a lot of straight to. We really should do.
We need to watch
episode.
all of the sequels to all of these movies because I didn't know any of those existed. The only one I was aware of.
Wait a minute. Is this going to be the angle with which I finally get you to watch Brother Bear?
I think so.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is like a at least twice or 3 times a month thing where I go, hey, let's watch Brother Bear tonight. And you're like, nope, not going to do that.
I was aware of they made a sequel to The Lion King. They made 2 because they have 2 and 1.5. I think I've seen 1.5, but not 2. I don't
actually
remember.
need to see 1.5 again.
And I know that they made sequels to Aladdin. I do remember that. But I didn't know they made like all of these other ones.
Oh yeah,
because there's a Little Mermaid.
There's an
right?
Aladdin 2 and 3.
Doesn't she have a daughter in the sequel to Little Mermaid?
I have no idea.
Oh, we need to. Okay,
we're gonna
have to watch all
down.
these. Okay,
yeah, write this down.
We'll get through this. But
we also have to watch. Now, do you count live action sequels like Mufasa? Because that's on Disney Plus.
No,
now.
I'm talking
just animated.
Anime here. But yeah, so Lion King 2, despite it not being included in the list, does have some incredible songs. So much so that like they put some of them in the Broadway.
Well, I was gonna say,
like
he what is it?
He Lives in You.
He Lives in You is literally in the
Which
Broadway.
is like probably my favorite song.
It's probably the best song in there. So yeah, it's a really incredible song. So honorable mention there, but that one's not in there.
Yeah. So let's go through all of these albums, kind of talk our pros and cons for each, and then we will start kind of narrowing down. And so we'll start with The Little Mermaid. And one thing I think is interesting as well as we go through this, and as we kind of listen to these in order too, we try to do it in order as much as we could. There are definitely eras in terms of Disney. So everybody's like knows like, hey, the Disney Renaissance was, Little Mermaid up through Tarzan. But I think even with that, you can kind of divide that up kind of into the first half of the Renaissance to the second. And I think these first set of soundtracks and movies are kind of like the classic Disney. When people think of the Renaissance, this is what you think of.
Yes, and when you think of Disney like musical movies, these are the ones that come up the most frequently.
Exactly. And so it's interesting of like how these are all kind of bunched together, and then we'll get into the other eras, but just it was neat to kind of see that, kind of keeping that in mind that like, yes, all of these soundtracks like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King are all phenomenal. And it is amazing that like for 4 or 5 years, they all came out like bunched up together. Mm-hmm. And it really, it's no surprise now looking back on it, how Disney kind of turned their fortune around because of these movies. And, they got, they dominated, animation for a decade because of this, because of these movies being so good all in a row. Like I feel like if it would have been Little Mermaid and then you would have had a flop after that, it would have not worked. But the fact that it billed was amazing.
And I think we've watched a couple things where it talks about animation as something that they almost did because they felt like they had to, because they were so costly to make, and so they were basically making animated films to keep the Disney name up and out there because that was what they were known for. But they also, I don't think, really expected, and like Disney animation hadn't been successful for a while, so they didn't. It was like these movies were there as because they felt like they had to, not because
they knew that Disney was built on IP, that drove everything, that animation and the movies drove everything else in the company, that you have great movies and stories that people go see. It then drives people to buy the merchandise for those movies. It then wants them to see the characters in the parks to get people to come to the parks. Like they knew that Disney ran on how good the animation studio did. And in the 70s and 80s when animation wasn't doing well, the company was faltering. And then so they came back and they said, let's revitalize animation, which helped them revitalize the parks and the merch and the Disney Channel and everything. And it all comes through that. And it's the same thing today. Like Disney needs to make good movies and they need to have good properties. And that's why they bought Star Wars. And that's why they bought Marvel and Pixar, because you're not going to want to come to the parks and, ride an attraction or see a character that you don't know. You want to see Woody. You want to see, Darth Vader and Luke. Like, you want to see your favorite characters in the parks. You don't want to just see something from, if they are still just doing Little Mermaid and it's like, hey, that came out 35 years ago. Nobody knows it. Like, you have to keep it fresh to keep people interested.
So The Little Mermaid has a number of really iconic songs that people are really familiar with. I think the one that stands above all the rest is Part of Your World. This is her I Want song. What does she want out of her life? And then you have a lot of people, really like also think of Under the Sea, because it's like their big, like poppy, very exciting sidekick song of everything that's, why you want to stay under the water, kind of like them trying to convince her that that's where she belongs. But then it also has pretty great like villain song in Poor Unfortunate Souls. You have Les Poissons, which is like the song where the chef is trying to...
Very short too. I was surprised when we listened to it. I was like, wait, it's over already? Mm-hmm. Like that was a quick song. But
and Kiss the Girl. So like there's a lot of really great songs that people are familiar with, and it actually is surprising to me because I don't often think, like, The Little Mermaid is very far out of my top Disney movies, but whenever I look at the list of songs on it, though, I'm like, man, that is a great soundtrack. It is probably would be in my top 10 for soundtracks. I mean, either in the top 10 or just out of my top 10. So it's quite amazing. It's quite a great lineup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this is one that I feel like the songs are so much more memorable than the movie itself. And
especially Part of Your World, I think is
that's such a strong song.
Yeah, is really great.
And the fact that like opened it, I think really set the tone like for the entire movie. And you kind of mentioned like the I Want song, the love song. I mean, as we're going through these, there's kind of a few like main categories of songs. If you think about like Disney movies and soundtracks, like you have a villain song, you have the I Want song or something that's like, hey, this is the driving force. Exactly. You have a love song. You have kind of your sidekicks. They sometimes have a song. And then there's also kind of just like the main theme. Like, what's the main theme song?
And a lot of times
of
those
movie,
are located in the beginning of the movie. However, there are some that, they occur later in the movie, which we'll point those out. But yeah, there's always there's these particular types of songs that appear in a lot of Disney films that sort of help to propel the story forward, because you have such a short form of art there. And I mean, they're usually like an hour and 20 minutes or so. So the songs can't just be songs. Like, they have to also compel the story forward and make the action continue to go.
Definition of a musical. Exactly what it does. And yeah, the best ones do that well, in that they drive the story forward. Because I feel like there are some of them, and we'll get to it, where like they're musicals, they're songs in the movie, but like, are they driving it forward? Like there's kind of some nuances here. Moving on to Beauty and the Beast, which, again, listening back to Beauty and the Beast, you have Be Our Guest, Belle, Gaston. You have Beauty and the Beast. Something's there. Like, the number of songs and the quality of these songs are amazing. Mm-hmm. Going through and listening back to this, I'm like thinking to myself, Disney may have peaked at Beauty and the Beast. And it was only the second movie in the Renaissance. It's no surprise that it won Oscars and Grammys and like, I mean, of the awards.
It won Best Original Song. I believe it was Beauty and the Beast too that was nominated for, I think it was, what's the highest one? The Best Movie Award or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was.
And after that, that's when they created the animated category, because they were kind of like, this is like weird that we have an animated movie like up for the movie of the year kind of thing. So yeah, it's just, it's a really incredible film and with really incredible songs.
Yeah. And listening to them, like, musically it's very well done too, because the score of Belle comes back into play in
Something's There.
Yeah. And so like it kind of ties everything together. Be Our Guest is an over-the-top musical number. And again, this is one where it works without the animation. Like, you don't have to have the animation. And so I think when you're looking at, hey, what's the best? Having something that can stand on its own just adds to it.
I'm pretty sure that I've probably alarmed a number of people out in random parks in our area because they hear me going, oh, 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 and they're like, oh my gosh, that woman must be getting murdered. So like, I mean, the amount of times I've sung that song probably while on a run, it's probably concerning. So yeah, it's a really, I mean, the soundtrack is so catchy. And like over the years, I've kind of like randomly, like grabbed another song from Beauty and the Beast and been like, why have I not been listening to this all the time?
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah. The next one is Aladdin. And I think this is where I was surprised because I love Aladdin. And I think the songs, especially like Friend Like Me, when it's done on Broadway, when it's in the movie, it's great. But listening to just the soundtrack, I feel like these songs don't hit as well. Like I was somewhat surprised where I'm like, I really didn't like those songs that much. Like especially like you have One Jump, the Arabian Nights, which is kind of the intro song. Even Friend Like Me, there's so much of it that's based on the comedy of Robin Williams and the comedy of the animation that just hearing the music, it's not as good as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing because when we were listening to it, I would also consider Friend Like Me to be one of my favorite Disney songs. But when we listened to it, like you said, in the context of the all the other songs from Aladdin and then with all the other songs from all the other movies, it was really interesting to see that wasn't the song that I found myself belting out and felt myself like gravitated toward. I felt a little let down. Now, I think it might have suffered from following Beauty and the Beast because I did try to go in order whenever I made the playlist, like of putting the song, like the, order of release. But it was a really interesting thing. And I completely agree with you. The next one is a movie that I originally didn't even think about to include in this list, but it came out in that time period and it was The Nightmare Before Christmas is a musical. And it didn't occur to me until I was creating the playlist for us that yes, it's a Disney movie, and yes, it has great like songs in it. And this one for me, I think might have been the most surprising of all of them because I wouldn't have thought that this musical score could fit in there with the rest of these. And I thought like it's
really,
a lot
of fun. It's a fun. I don't know that the songs are great standouts of the greatest of all time.
I think there's one.
But it's a lot of fun. It's a very fun soundtrack. There's a lot of very fun kind of irreverent songs, them talking about like kidnapping Santa Claus and things like it's a funny soundtrack and you kind of do like, yeah, that's good. Like you don't think about it, but there's a lot of good songs on it.
I think that What's This is one of so that's an I Want song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it is one of the most, I think probably more than any other song, it actually encapsulates the idea of wonder better than any other of the Disney soundtrack songs because Jack is so struck by like going into this new world where Halloween isn't the main holiday and it's Christmas, and he is just absolutely like flabbergasted and excited by the fact that it's something new to him. And so that like was palpable. Listening to the music of it was very palpable, and I think that is one of the requirements of a really good song is it makes you feel something. And that one really stirred that feeling of wonder in me that I don't think I necessarily realized that, this song or this soundtrack had the ability to do.
Yeah, and you're right. That is a very good song. I think where Nightmare Before Christmas maybe fails in terms of some of these other soundtracks is the kind of whole body of work of the soundtrack isn't as strong. So you have What's This as being a very good song, but like again,
This Is Halloween is great.
Yeah, but if you look at like Beauty and the Beast, where you have 5 or 6 amazing songs on it, I just think some of them don't hit as strong as some of the other soundtracks. But it is something that like again, I feel like you forget about, but like. Yeah, I there's a lot of songs here I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good song. Like, should listen to that more, know, and kind of go and revisit that more. The next one being The Lion King, which again, this is one kind of my point of Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, if you look at The Lion King, every song in here is amazing. You have Circle of Life, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, Be Prepared, Hakuna Matata, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? So you have 5 songs right there that are all top tier quality songs. Yes. So again, like, you have to kind of make some distinctions whenever you're trying to find the best soundtracks. And it's like, 1 or 2 good songs is great. And all of these movies, I feel like all of the songs were good. There's a solid song everywhere.
I don't think we went through any of these movies and weren't like, this movie has this really great song. Like we
didn't say that.
We
were like, this is just absolutely terrible.
This is just a terrible soundtrack.
They're all very good.
Yeah, there's at least one song that's like great and maybe a couple good ones. I mean, we're about to get to another one that I think kind of falls into that category pretty soon, of like, wow, this is like an incredible song, and then the rest of them aren't so strong. So
well, I mean, we can get into that because I think you've talked about The Lion King enough on this show that like everybody knows how you feel about it. You love The Lion King.
Well, it is funny though, because I struggle with The Lion King. So this might be the part that it's hard. I don't know that I articulate this very much on the show, but sometimes I punish The Lion King kind of like, a coach might sit their kid out because they don't want to show favoritism. Yeah. I sometimes, I think, do that to The Lion King, where I'm like, this is an amazing soundtrack that I've listened to forever, but I've also listened to it forever. Yeah. So I'm almost like a little bit more hard on the songs because I'm so familiar with them that they're not new and exciting to me anymore. Maybe
what's interesting too about Lion King and like Beauty and the Beast, and we'll get into this when we kind of let's start ranking these in some order. The fact that it's turned into a Broadway musical and it has been on Broadway for, I don't know, almost 30 years now, I think, at this point.
Hence why I'm wearing my Lion King Broadway shirt.
And they've made Beauty and the Beast into a musical, but it hasn't had as long a run. Aladdin's been a musical. Frozen was a musical, but only lasted a couple years. Now it's touring, but like the fact that you're able to take the soundtrack and just very easily move it to a Broadway musical shows how strong some of these soundtracks are.
But I will say The Lion King has also lasted so long because of the brilliance of the costume designers that made all the puppets.
But the songs are great. But again, like my point is, they didn't have to write new songs to make it a musical. Like they were able to just take these songs and make it as source material. And so again, it just shows you how strong it is.
They added new songs though. There are other songs.
A couple, but for the most part.
What is that? Shadowlands?
Yeah. For the most part though, it's basically, the music.
I do have to look up though, because I don't think I actually know this fact. Is Shadowlands technically a new song that they created for the musical, or was that a song that they cut from the actual movie? So maybe they had that.
Could be.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Surprised you don't know that fact.
I should know that fact.
I'm a little disappointed.
I am too. So the next movie on the list is a Goofy movie, which again, like a movie that you don't necessarily think of when you think of musicals, but it totally is.
And I would say I do wonder, like I kind of was thinking through this of like, is it really a musical? Because a lot of the songs and a lot of the popular songs are sung by Powerline. And so I feel like some of it is there's Powerline singing when stuff is happening, but then you kind of think about it and you go, well, Powerline is a character in the movie. It's not like they're just listening to his song on the radio or something. So like he is a character. He's maybe not one of the main characters. So yeah, in a musical, characters are singing. It's moving the plot forward. So I do think you could say it's a musical.
And the songs do go along with what is going on in the story. So like there's standout, and standout is in the beginning, and that's what Max is trying to do. He's trying to stand out for Roxanne. And then at the end, Eye to Eye is about, Max and Goofy finding that commonality and seeing each other for who they are. I mean, you see it in this very like big pop show, but it is still a song that deep down in its heart is speaking to the themes of the actual movie itself. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, the Powerline songs are definitely the ones that stand out, but there's
stand out. I will say what's interesting as well with this is I feel like the songs Stand Out, Eye to Eye are very popular. And I feel like this is maybe one where the songs are maybe more popular than the movie itself. I do wonder.
I don't know.
I mean, the Goofy movie has a very big following.
Great, huge, like cult
It's
following.
It's kind of like The Nightmare Before Christmas as well. Like, I feel like What's This is a very popular song. This Is Halloween is popular. But I almost wonder how many people nowadays that are like growing up now know Eye to Eye, know What's This, know what This Is Halloween, but have never seen the movie. Like, they go, oh, I know it's from this like goofy movie or Nightmare Before Christmas or something, but they've never seen it.
This would be a very fun experiment for me to conduct. If after state testing, I'll play the beginning, dun, 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 and then I'll be like, how many of you have ever heard that before? And then,
but I think my point is, I think a lot of people have heard it, but not necessarily.
That's what I'm saying. And then I'll ask them
yeah.
how many of them have seen a Goofy movie,
or what movie is it from?
Yeah,
what movie? Don't tell them. Yeah, what movie it's from? Because I feel like, especially those two, I feel like their music is almost overshadowing to a certain extent sometimes the movie.
Yeah, at times. I mean, it's just that, you know, you're going to have to sit down and commit to an hour and 20-minute long movie versus you can listen to a song that's 2-3 minutes.
But my point is, like, I think more modern stuff, like I think Hakuna Matata, you're probably not going to know that unless you've seen the movie. Or I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Like, you're more likely to experience that as part of the movie versus
Circle of Life.
Versus like they play a lot of this music in the parks too, you know, like that may be where you heard it. You go, oh, that's a cool Disney song. I wonder what that's from, you know?
Yeah.
And not necessarily knowing that.
Or now with these kids nowadays, it was in a meme.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they know everything, is it's in a meme.
And so with a Goofy movie, and we're moving on to Pocahontas, I think this is where you start getting into kind of this like transitional period, this transitional era of Disney movies and soundtracks.
So like, even though they are still within the Renaissance, you kind of termed it differently because you're saying like they have kind of moved on. And I also think that there was some leadership changes too.
Yeah.
In the Disney company. So I think it sort of changed maybe
some
of the outcomes of these.
I mean, I think if you listen to the soundtracks and stuff too, there's tonal changes in the music as well. I mean,
it got darker.
It did. It got a lot darker. You moved away from, you know, these upbeat and power ballad songs, which personally I love.
Yeah, those ones are more like traditional Broadway-esque songs.
Like the classical.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so now we're kind of moving out. Not saying that any of these songs coming up don't necessarily have Broadway type sound
numbers, but it's different. And I think, again, if you would ask fans, a lot of people don't talk as much about Pocahontas and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like, these aren't as popular films, you know, Hercules. Like, they're not as popular as the early ones. And it was kind of where Disney started to falter a little bit. Again, they got a very, like, serious, somber tone. I mean, especially Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, maybe like skipping ahead a little bit. Like, those songs, and this might be the one where I'm like, I don't know, like, that there's any really great ones in this soundtrack. This is just it's just so off the wall, and even that movie, it just didn't hit well. And I think kind of all these movies in this era, like leading to the end of the Renaissance, like you could see where it started going downhill.
The thing is about The Hunchback, is since we're skipping over Pocahontas temporarily, the thing about it is, I think it tells a really good story, right? I think it tells a really interesting story. It does not seem inherently Disney.
No,
okay?
Not at all.
Because it is all about, I mean, Disney a lot of times will veil their themes a little bit more carefully, whereas The Hunchback is very clearly about, like, I mean, genocide. It is very clearly about, you know, not being kind to people who are, like, not norm, like not of the norm, you know, in air quotes. And a lot of the songs have this very gothic feel, and even like Out There
very slow, dramatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Out There is great, but I think the beginning portion of the song Out There is still very slow. And so you can't just like put on the song Out There and it's like that one day out there, like the part that everyone knows, and you're like, that's a great song. And it's like da na 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 na. That is great, but you can't like get it away from the other portion of the song that is
and I feel like is
not as good.
There was a couple of these too where it's like they're split songs.
Yeah, was it Hellfire? Heaven's Light and Hellfire.
Yeah, it's like it starts one and then cuts to another, and it like never, to your point, it never like fully gets to like a good part where you're like, yeah, this is the part I can kind of get behind.
Yeah,
it
when you put on a song, you usually want to like the whole song, not like the second half
like
of the
half
song.
of it, or like the first half or second half.
I mean, there might be a part you like more than the other parts, but it's weird.
So Hunchback wasn't that great.
All right.
Jumping back. Yeah, to Pocahontas, to kind of keep it in order.
And I think that this is a very Jekyll and Hyde of a soundtrack. So
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so you have songs in there like Mine, 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 and I think there is Mine, Mine, is the one that I think it's called Savage. I didn't write it down because I just was like, this is a crazy soundtrack. So there are songs like that are just like, ooh, I'm never gonna listen to this again. But then you have Just Around the River Bend, which is pretty great, and then you have Colors of the Wind, and it's just
which won the Oscar for Best Song.
And you're just like, wait, how did this song? Yeah. How is this song in the exact same movie as those other songs?
Right.
Like this song could be in Beauty and the Beast or The Lion King. I mean, as far as like quality,
yes.
It's so high. Like it's one of probably my favorite. I mean, and Pocahontas is not one of my favorite Disney movies, but it's probably one of my favorite songs. It's like thematically, it's so strong about her telling him like how you don't have to conquer the earth, that like you can just like live in harmony with it. Like this is such a strong, amazing song, and it's just mind blowing that the rest of the soundtrack doesn't kind of rise to the occasion.
Right. That again, this is one where it's got one or two bangers, great songs, and then the rest of it is kind of like it's not that great. So not as strong as some of the other ones. So already talked about Hunchback. Next one's Hercules, which I think Hercules is so overlooked.
Yeah,
it's an upbeat soundtrack. It's a lot of fun. Yep. It has, so where we talked about the past two movies had kind of this very like somber, realistic tone. It completely flips. It has with Gospel Truth, it kind of has that gospel music. It's upbeat. All the songs are fun.
Everything's very
catchy,
epic.
Yes,
and I do think that it definitely thematically benefits from this. We're not music people as far as like, we don't have music degrees, so we're just
podcasters.
So as far as like, there's people that could go through and find like musical themes or like point out that they're
chord
major and minor
stuff like that.
and chord progressions. Yeah, they can talk about all of those things and how thematically that all ties in. But with like the Hercules, and there's a couple movies coming up like this where you're just like, I can see they made these songs very epic because it is an epic. And so like they made the soundtrack match what type of movie that they were making, which is really cool. And like you said, gospel truth, it's talking about gods. So then they matched that with like gospel music, that people would be familiar with when they maybe hear it in church, or they just know it from.
It kind of goes back to like Beauty and the Beast. So you're kind of saying like, hey, the music matches the movie. Like you look at Beauty and the Beast, which it's about the relationship and the love between Beast and Belle, and there's two love songs in that. Like you made a comment that one actually has two love songs in the movie, and so it kind of ties in. Whereas again, Hercules, it's this Greek or Roman, kind of epic story. So the music's epic. Like it kind of ties in with that.
Greek, but yes. Yeah, or like The Lion King, how The Lion King uses like these sounds and like these instrumentals that are coming from Africa, and they had like an African producer work on it so that it sounded more legitimate. So like it has like that feel that that it is in a specific place and time, it really works for it. And you have just incredible songs like Go the Distance, Zero to Hero, Won't Say I'm in Love.
It's crazy it didn't win any awards.
Yeah. The one knock I have on Go the Distance is there's a large portion in the middle of the song where it is like all instrumental again. And so like that's a song that when I'm running, I think about, and then I'm like, but it doesn't quite work because there's that big long portion.
And again, that's one where when you're listening to it just as the soundtrack and not with the animation, it is not as strong as you kind of remember in your head when you're thinking about like, oh, when I watch the movie, it's this epic, huge thing.
I just wish they had written verses of songs in that instrumental portion.
Yeah, if they would have added something to it,
yeah. So it's an interesting thing, but overall, an amazing soundtrack. And then right after Hercules, we have Mulan, and Mulan is another one where you're like, okay, like there are good songs in it. You have Honor to Us All, which I find myself singing this while running as well, and I don't know the words. And I'll just be like, you'll bring honor to us, you'll bring, and I'm like, why am I singing this song?
It's like an earworm.
It's
very catchy.
It is, and I think it's because it's like that repetitiveness of like with the footfalls. Like I just find myself singing it. And then Reflection, really good. When we were growing up, there was also the Christina Aguilera version, which wasn't the one from in the movie. That was the one.
I feel like that's the one I remember.
That's
more.
the one that's in the credits, the end credits. But the song that breaks it all, I'll Make a Man Out of You. I mean, absolutely, just again, like if we're doing single songs from a movie, this is top 5 for me.
Now you think this is a sidekick song? There is in no way this is a sidekick. Mushu's not singing this.
Yes, so
this is the male lead of the movie.
It's not the main character. Well, he's not. It's not a love song.
But he's not the sidekick. Like I don't know how this is a sidekick song. I think this doesn't fit.
It doesn't really fit
into any of them. It's a song.
It's if anything,
there's no way this is a sidekick song though.
And if anything, it's almost like a second thematic song.
Yes.
I think maybe is
like
really where it goes, because the honors to us. I think that this and Honor to Us All. Oh, now this has me thinking. Oh man, this is good. So Honor to Us All is like society's view of like the theme and what Mulan should be, and kind of like at the beginning, this is where she's kind of trying to fit in, and then like I'll Make a Man Out of You is like her reality, more where she feels like she identifies she's not like this girly girl, and so that's really the theme of like finding that inner strength within herself to be better than what she thought she could be.
So this one has 2 themes.
There you go.
So there you go. So definitely not sidekick.
No.
All right, then the next one's Tarzan. Now Tarzan, I struggle with on Tarzan because I feel like this is the only movie in this list where the characters aren't singing the songs. So we think of it as a musical because there is a
true soundtrack to the movie.
Correct. There is songs that move the plot forward, songs that sing about the themes. So you have Two Worlds, Strangers Like Me, You'll Be at My Heart, and they're in there, but none of the characters sing it. Like Phil Collins is singing this whole thing.
That's not the characters don't sing the full songs. So You'll Be in My Heart, I believe. What's her name? Kala, his mom, I think sings part of it, but for the most part, moves off of her to Phil Collins, and then shows everything in sort of more of a montage.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the movie, is it like kind of is montaged with the background from Phil Collins.
Yeah. With all that being said, I mean,
incredible soundtrack.
It's an incredible soundtrack. You'll Be in My Heart, I believe, won the Academy Award for that. It won Best Soundtrack. I don't know if that was for the Grammys or probably for the Grammys with Best Soundtrack, but like won a lot of awards. Amazingly done. And Phil Collins, and I think he sang it in like all the different languages and stuff too. Like he like really like went all in on this. It's just I struggle with like, it's a musical, but not a traditional musical in the sense of like you think of musicals or like Broadway musicals where it's the characters and then kind of they express themselves in music. Whereas, this is more of a soundtrack to a movie versus them expressing themselves in song.
Yeah, I almost wonder if there's like something to be said for that too, because expression might be an interesting thing for Tarzan, the main character, because he's essentially bilingual, but doesn't know how to express himself in English.
Maybe we'll say this, he's singing all this in his head.
Yeah.
And then we're just listening to his internal thoughts.
Maybe
so he's actually
in his
singing.
head he is Phil Collins.
He sings like Phil Collins. I mean, could be.
Yeah.
That could very well be.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, now I'm getting behind this. I'm talking myself back into this. So. Okay. So now you have a 10-year gap between Tarzan and the next musical. So Tarzan came out in 1999. The next one was Princess and the Frog in 2009. And so this is when we get into the modern era. So again, with Tarzan, the Disney Renaissance ended, Disney animation the movies weren't as strong. You talk about Brother Bear.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying it's not good. I was
gonna say Brother Bear is a musical as well, but not really. It has a couple songs.
Brother Bear, Stitch, like some of these movies were
Lilo
not
Stitch,
as commercially well received, and so this is kind of where it became, hey, Disney animation is suffering again.
And music took more of a backseat. It wasn't not present. Think of Lilo and Stitch. They use a lot of Elvis music in that movie to sort of give it that musical. And then there's also Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride, which was in that movie, which is pretty popular. So they do have songs, but they are not like true musicals in that the characters are going out and bursting into song.
Right. So come 2009, you get Princess and the Frog, and this is when Disney, they've returned to kind of their roots of animation, of musicals. So this is kind of now like the modern era that we are currently in. And it kicked off with Princess and the Frog. This is one where I'm not a huge fan of the movie. I've seen it once. I
think you need to watch it again.
Yeah, I probably do need to watch it again. I didn't think it was that great in terms of like just story and what was happening. And I didn't really remember any like memorable songs. But listening to the soundtrack of it, I was like, these are great songs. Again, this is one where they have that, New Orleans feel to the music. Mm-hmm. It helps set the time, the place. It helps set the theme in it. You have songs like Down in New Orleans, Almost There. I mean, is a great song.
Dig a Little Deeper.
Friends on the Other Side. Like, there are so there's so many great songs in this that drive the theme and drive the plot that I did not think I would look so fondly on this soundtrack. Because again, I was like, I thought the movie was kind of forgettable. It was okay, but not one of my favorites. But listening to these songs, I'm like, wow, these are great songs. Maybe I do need to revisit this movie again.
And again, like, talking about like what we said about Hercules, and it very much has that New Orleans sound. It has a jazzy bluesy type sound to it, and so it is very firmly anchored in the place that it is supposed to be taking place in. So I think that really helps it as well.
Yeah. The next one is Tangled, and I don't think Tangled has as many great songs as Princess and the Frog does.
No.
You do have When Will My Life Begin, which I think is kind of like a good upbeat song. I See the Light, I think is probably like the most popular one. I think that is probably one of the best, if maybe not the best, love songs kind of in the modern era.
Yeah.
And I feel like also because some of these Disney movies, like when you get into Moana and Frozen,
they move away from that love story.
From the love story. So like they don't have those songs in there, but I do think I See the Light is up there in terms of kind of like those love songs. But I just feel like in terms of the other ones, like there's just not as many, I feel like, compared to like Princess and the Frog.
I'm like trying to think, pitting that just like real quick against all the other love songs. Now, if you're talking about romantic love, and I'm going to make the argument later on that it doesn't have to be romantic love. But if you're talking about romantic love, I think it maybe almost takes down Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Like I think it is at least on equal footing with that. It's a song I don't listen to much, but when we listen to it, I'm like, wow, this is a truly beautiful, beautiful song. So the next movie on the list is Frozen.
Yeah, and this is where we get into like sequels, because you have Frozen 2, we're going to have Moana 2 in here. I feel like as we go through these, we kind of have to
We'll just group them together.
Well, I feel like we kind of have to pick one, like, okay, what's the better of the Frozens? Like, I don't think we can say, hey, both of these have a shot at being the greatest, or both, Moana's. Like, I think we kind of have to pick which one's the best. But between the two Frozens, absolutely stunning amount of songs.
Yeah.
And I think this goes to show because they had Broadway composers write the music for this, and so it is getting back into that like Broadway grand musicality, power ballads, which again is something I'm fond of. So I think that's probably why I like Frozen and Frozen 2 soundtrack so good. But like, you can really see the quality. Also, the singers in it. I mean, you have Broadway singers cast in these roles, and so their voices are just so much stronger and just sound so incredible compared to some of the other movies, especially like earlier Disney, where what maybe wasn't all Broadway singers doing it. But between the two Frozen, I mean, I don't really think you can go wrong. I know you have an opinion on which one's better. But I don't think you can go wrong with either of these soundtracks.
I mean, yeah, if you look at the lineup just real quick, because I think it is important to just kind of like check them out. So you have Do You Want to Build a Snowman? So this is all Frozen. Do You Want to Build a Snowman? For the First Time in Forever, Let It Go, Love is an Open Door, Fixer Upper, and In Summer. I mean, that is a pretty solid list of songs. And then in Frozen 2, you have The Next Right Thing, Show Yourself, Some Things Never Change, Into the Unknown, Lost in the Woods, and When I Am Older. And when you look at those, and I kind of like went through and compared like the types of songs at each, like one for one. Frozen, for me at least, wins Frozen 2 wins 4 out of the 5 of the categories. Like, okay. I think Into the Unknown, even though Let It Go was like had more commercial success, I think Into the Unknown is a more powerful song for me. I think Lost in the Woods is a
hysterical. Like, it's hilarious. It's a great song.
And that one is one that also, but it's hysterical with the animation, but still without the animation, it is still a great song. You don't need the animation, but then it adds an extra layer of enjoyment when you watch it and you're like, oh man, they're making fun of all of the 90s music videos.
I feel like none of these songs you need the animation to enjoy the song. Again, they are great songs just on their own. Not even being in a Disney movie.
And then, no, the one that's hilarious, like hysterical, is When I'm Older. Yeah. Like, that one's hysterical. Because, I mean, as an adult listening to that song, you're like, this is so funny because he thinks he's going to get all the answers. Like, and he's not. So, I mean, it is, Frozen 2 is an incredible soundtrack, which.
So that's what you're putting above Frozen.
100%.
Yeah, and I do feel like, I mean, Frozen was great. They kept the same, writing team, the same cast and everything. Frozen 2, they did take it up a level. I think the songs tie into your point even more. Like, Into the Unknown is, I would say a stronger song than Let It Go, just in terms of like the theme and the tie into the story and everything.
And then like Show Yourself echoes all of the songs throughout the whole entire musical. Like, you get, I can't even remember what we even had it off the lullaby that the mom sings. I can't remember off the top of my head what that one's called. Where the North Wind Meets the Sea. That one. Yeah. But that shows up again in Show Yourself. Like, the musical themes throughout the movie just like tie in so beautifully. It's a really powerful soundtrack.
Yeah. So all right. So Frozen 2 we have above Frozen. Then we go to Moana. And Moana 2. I think this one's very easy. I think Moana is much better. I will say as well, this is another one. Listening to it, I didn't really think I was a fan of You're Welcome or The Rock. Like, I always kind of said, like, I didn't think he was that great at like singing from watching the movie, but just listening to the song, I was like, this is actually pretty good. Like, he's doing a pretty good job. Like, so I'm more positive on it.
I felt like all the I told you so memes.
In
that one.
But besides You're Welcome, you have How Far I'll Go. You have Shiny. We Know the Way. Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the music for this. I think he also did Encanto, which we'll talk about next. But like, the music is great. It has just a different vibe and feel to it. It has those Polynesian kind of themes and sounds to it. There's just a lot of great songs in that. I think Moana 2, there are some good songs in it, but they just don't drive the story as much, I feel like.
But I also do think that upon listening to Moana 2 again, because we saw it in the theaters, I'm just gonna put it frankly, I was disgusted. And it was just because of like high expectations. Listening to the soundtrack made me want to watch it again, because I was like, okay, like I'm walking around and annoyingly going, can I get a chee-hoo?
Oh, I love that. I love Can I Get a Chee-hoo?
Moana, na 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 na. Like, I'm walking around singing some of these songs, and the one that actually surprised me was I really liked the villain song in the theater.
You don't even remember when we played it. You're like, wait, did we listen to the villains one? I'm like, yeah, we heard that one. Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? Like, I didn't even realize the song had played because I didn't have a connection to it, just like listening to it.
Again, so like Moana 2, you just don't have a strong connection to the story. And I think, we talked about it, like it was going to be a TV show. They kind of said, we need to make it a movie. It seems like they cut out a bunch of storylines in that and kind of pieced it together. I'm sure there were a lot of other great songs that were going to be part of the TV show that kind of got cut. And so I think it suffered from that. And Lin-Manuel was just so good at writing songs too. Like he's just so good at musicals.
Beyond, I think, is the one song that we do have to like really actually give some props though. You know, that one that's like, it came out before the movie came out. It was the What Lies Beyond.
Yeah.
That one really has great like impact on the movie, I think.
That's
great
like
themes.
That's like the How Far I'll Go.
It is. And I do
yeah.
think that they did a really excellent job with that. And at that point, like, you know, of the movie, I don't want to say, I just felt like the story was weak, but I did appreciate what that song does. And I do think it's a beautiful song.
It is. I think maybe my point to that though too is like, it's almost just retelling. Like we got that song in Moana of like her wanting to journey and how far she'll go. And it's like Moana 2 was kind of the same thing. Like, oh, I need to go journey and go out into the ocean and see how far I'll go. And so it's like, it's somewhat repetitive in a certain extent in the way that I don't feel like Frozen 2 repeats the same songs as Frozen 1. There's some overlap, but like there's a different story to it.
But if you look at Let It Go, it's about her accepting herself and her powers, and Into the Unknown is I don't want to do this, like I don't want to go and venture out because I'm happy, kind of like
but it's different. It's not like in Frozen 2 she's still like, wait,
well, that's
am
what I'm
I
saying.
accepting my powers?
It's she is moved past that.
All right, so moving on to Encanto. So here's my question: between Moana and Encanto, what's the better Lin-Manuel soundtrack? You know, Encanto was one that I remember when this came out in the theaters, loved the songs. Nobody really went to see it in the theaters. This thing dropped on Disney Plus. We Don't Talk About Bruno became like the #1 song of the summer. Everybody was singing. And I feel like that is kind of like the top song on it. Some of the other songs, like Surface Pressure, is good.
I was gonna say I have to. I also am fond of What Else Can I Do. I know you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't. I don't think particularly love that when we listened to it.
Yeah.
But I think Issa's song is and I think thematically it's also very strong because, again, she is a person who's been put in a box to do only one thing, which is be beautiful and make these gorgeous flowers, and she realizes that that's not who she is.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and Surface Pressure has a similar.
Yeah, Surface Pressure is good. Yeah,
has a similar type of
has
theme.
a good beat to it. Has a good. It's a good song.
Like as far as like, you know, you want to say vocally, it's not as impressive, but I think that thematically it's so strong.
Even like the Family Madrigal, like the beginning song, like listening to that. It's a good song of like how it tells you everything about the family and everything you need to know about the story.
It's a good exposition song.
Like, exactly.
It provides you with everything you need to know.
It is. But I do feel like if you look at Moana versus Encanto, I feel like Moana's
it edges
the
it out.
better just soundtrack, just in terms of
I think
quality songs. Like I would listen to more of the songs on Moana than I would Encanto. We Don't Talk About Bruno. But the other ones, I mean, I could kind of take them or leave them.
Well, and you also have to
depending
think,
on the day.
I mean, and there is the one we didn't mention from Encanto, but I think it's Dos Oruguitas, and I think that I can't remember. I think that was caterpillars, right? I looked it up.
Caterpillars or butterflies?
Yeah, it was. I think it was.
I think it's 2 butterflies.
I thought it was caterpillars.
But it's all about this like metamorphosis.
Yeah, it's about them making a metamorphosis and changing into something else.
Yeah.
And it's that whole love story, because that was the song. Because I remember whenever the Grammys, or Academy Awards and the Grammys, that was the song that was nominated, and it was interesting because you were like, I mean. It's a beautiful song. It's just very slow, and you and I tend to not love the very slow songs. But yeah, like it I think that you're right, like 100% though. Like Encanto has some really good songs, but when it comes to, you know, How Far I'll Go, You're Welcome, Shiny, like We Know the Way, like those are stronger as a group than the 2 songs I think that I really gravitate towards from Encanto.
Right. And then the last one on the list is Wish, which again, kind of commercially
I wish it would have been better.
Didn't do well. Yeah, we had high hopes for it. I think the song that kind of comes out of this one is This Is the Thanks I Get, and This Wish. I think those are probably like the top two out of this one.
What's the one that was it? The Knowing What I Know Now, the one that was like almost like a chant. I like that one a lot. Listening to it a second time.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Like, this was one where I thought the soundtrack was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked the
thought
soundtrack
it was okay.
better than the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but again, is it better than all of these other soundtracks? No,
it's not.
So that's all of them. At this point, I think we are going to have to split this into 2 episodes here. So we will finish next week with actually picking, but I think what I want to do is go through, pick the top villain, I want, love songs, sidekick, theme songs. And I'll put this out on Instagram, or at Enchanted Ears Podcast, have the listeners vote so we can kind of have what the listeners vote for next week, and then our soundtracks. And we'll kind of whittle this down to maybe like, I think what we need to do is pick 2 from each era, because I think each era needs some representation in the top soundtracks, because again, 2 soundtracks, 2 songs. 2 soundtracks. 2 soundtracks from each era in terms of the top soundtracks, and then we'll kind of pick top songs, and again, get the listeners to kind of vote on this. So looking at the song, so best villain song, so
and you and I are gonna have to duke some of these out.
Yeah, so for me, my 4 would be Prepared, Poor Unfortunate Souls, Friends on the Other Side, and Gaston.
Okay. And so I am in agreement with Gaston and Be Prepared.
Okay.
But the 2 I disagree with are Poor Unfortunate Souls and Friends on the Other Side. I would replace those 2 with Shiny. And technically, we don't talk about Bruno as a villain song. He is the villain of that.
See, I don't see him as the villain. So if you're going to tell me Bruno's the villain,
he's not the villain. It's Grandma, but they have vilified him.
So I think from that perspective, I could see we don't talk about Bruno being in there. I don't think you could say
you don't think Shiny is better.
I just don't think I don't think you can look at we don't talk about Bruno and Shiny as villains, because I feel like neither of those characters are as villain as like Ursula. Poor Unfortunate Souls is an incredible villain song because she is the actual villain. She says, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I've done to people. And Ariel still goes along with it. So I think, we need to pick one between Shiny or we don't talk about Bruno.
I was going to say,
we'll replace Friends from the Other side.
Okay. I agree with this. So I agree. So Poor Unfortunate Soul stays, and then it's between Shiny and Bruno because neither of them are truly the villain of the music of the movie. Which one do I want to listen to more? I might have to throw this to you.
I think it's Bruno. I think we don't talk about Bruno.
To Bruno?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with you on this one just because I love the song Shiny, but
so that's our 4. So Be Prepared, Poor Unfortunate Souls, We Don't Talk About Bruno, and Gaston. All right, moving on to the I Want songs. So what 4 do you have there?
Into the Unknown, Part of Your World, What's This, and How Far I'll Go.
Okay, that's pretty similar to what I was thinking. I had Almost There instead of What's This, and I just really liked Almost There. Again, I need to go back and rewatch Princess and the Frog because I think that's a really good song. But you're right. I mean, talking about What's This and how
the wonder,
that sense of wonder in there, I could definitely see that one over Almost There. So we'll have that one in there. So our 4 will be Into the Unknown, Part of Your World, What's This, and How Far I'll Go. Moving on to a love song, I had A Whole New World, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Beauty and the Beast, and I See the Light.
My list is almost the same, but I actually took out A Whole New World and I put in You'll Be in My Heart. So this is where I mentioned earlier where there's romantic love songs and then there's a different type of love song. And so this is not Tarzan and Jane, but this is Tarzan and his mom. This song is very emotional. I think that it is very deserving to be in the top love songs.
I'm with you. I think my only issue is, again, it's not sung.
But no, this is the one.
characters.
But this is the one though that the mom, I think, does sing a portion of the song, not the whole thing.
Yeah,
but it is, I think, the only. I don't quote me on this because it's been a while since I've seen Tarzan, even though it's one of my faves.
I guess I could make the argument. I mean, "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" isn't really sung by the character. Yeah, I mean, the beginning is sung by Timon and Pumbaa, but like Simba and Nala don't sing any of it.
Simba and Nala sing part of it.
Okay, but they don't sing a lot of it.
They don't sing all of it though. So it is in a similar way that Tarzan has like that montagey, but they all the characters do sing a portion of them.
So I think we need to put up "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" and "You'll Be in My Heart," because I think "A Whole New World."
No,
the characters are singing it, and I think that's a stronger song when the characters are actually singing and they're involved in it.
But if you're talking about the musicality minus the animation, I would argue that it goes to the music, not what is being shown in the movie.
I think it's strong. I think it's stronger. I think "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" and "You'll Be in My Heart" are kind of on the same level.
I think that this one you throw on our Instagram out of...
This is a play-in bracket.
Like, this is a play-in bracket.
We're going to have a play-in. So are we going to have... So you're with me on "Can You Feel the Love Tonight,"
yes.
"Beauty and the Beast," and "I See the Light."
Yes.
And then we'll have a play-in bracket for "A Whole New World" and "You'll Be in My Heart."
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Fair.
All right. Moving on. Sidekick. Hakuna Matata. I mean, I don't know how that's not going to win, but also had "You're Welcome," because again, I like the song now. "When I'm Older" and "Under the Sea."
So I don't have Hakuna Matata in mind. I actually...
What are you talking about? That's the greatest sidekick song of all time.
So this is where when it comes to my love of the Lion King...
You're wrong. Hakuna Matata's in. So what else?
No.
What else do you want to change?
So I agree with "You're Welcome." I had "Friend Like Me," but you know what? I will take that one out because we did just talk about how "Friend Like Me" is actually it doesn't hit as good.
Yeah.
How about "Be Our Guest," son?
See, I don't see "Be Our Guest." I had "Be Our Guest" as almost like...
"Be Our Guest" is a I mean, it's sung by the plates and the...
So that is one
kind of the closest...
That is one I struggled with because on like the main theme song, I wasn't sure, should it be Belle or should it be "Be Our Guest"?
Well,
because
I think it's Belle
like
because Belle is doesn't fit in, and it's the whole town singing about how she doesn't fit in.
All right, so if we're saying Belle is theme, then yes, I guess you could see "Be Our Guest" as a sidekick. So I would then bump "When I'm Older" out and put "Be Our Guest" in there.
Yeah, that's the one I bumped.
Okay, so I say Hakuna Matata,
and
"You're Welcome," "Be Our Guest," and "Under the Sea."
Yes, and then honorable mentions, even though we don't. She's not really a sidekick, but "Surface Pressure." Because
not a sidekick.
And also,
there.
"I'll Make a Man of You." Also, not really a true sidekick, which is why I took them off my list. Right. But I listed them under mine and then took them off because of that.
All right, and then the last category is the main theme.
So for my list of 4, I have Belle, "This Is Halloween," "Circle of Life," and "Colors of the Wind."
Oh wow, okay. So I had Belle, "Circle of Life." I had "Two Worlds" from Tarzan. Because again, I think that's a really strong theme song. And then I had "Family Madrigal."
Yeah.
Because again, I think that does a good job of, again, just explaining who everybody is in the movie.
Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
Your list is wrong.
Okay. So you had "This Is Halloween."
So we have the commonality of both having "Circle of Life"
and Belle.
And Belle, yeah.
Okay.
So I put in "This Is Halloween," which I would maybe be willing to...
I think we each get to pick one.
I would be willing to maybe concede on that one. "Colors of the Wind" I am not willing to concede on.
All right, so you have "Colors of the Wind." I'll take "Two Worlds."
Okay.
Because again, I think
that's a better choice.
I think that's strong. Yeah.
I think that's a better choice.
All right, and then so let's go through top 2 from each era. So this will get to our top 6, and then again next week we will reveal the top soundtrack. We will reveal how everybody voted for everybody's vote. So I think looking at the classic era, I think you have to have "Beauty and the Beast" on there, and I think you have to have "Lion King."
I agree. In the transitional era, I think that the two best choices are Hercules and Tarzan.
I agree. And as much as I said, hey, Tarzan, like the characters aren't singing it, the music's just so good.
And the
compared
ones,
to the other ones.
Yeah, they're not very strong. And again, not saying Tarzan is bad. Tarzan's incredible.
And again, Tarzan, from the music, from the songs, again, if you're just thinking about okay, not worrying about if the characters are singing it or not. Tarzan is incredible. I mean, this is going to be a tough battle, I think, even between like Tarzan against The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. I mean, you can make an argument that some of those songs are better just songs in general than some of these other soundtracks.
I think we need to go on a second road trip where we only put in.
Yeah, we need to listen. We'll re-listen to these top 6 soundtracks again to really like.
This might have to be your cooking playlist in the next week or two.
All right, and then from the modern era,
I think the choice is clear on this one.
I think it's Frozen 2. I kind of like Frozen. I'm like up in the air. They're very close for me. You're very firm on Frozen 2.
I'm passionate because I think Frozen 2 is one of the best Disney movies. Maybe Frozen 2 is the one I need to start like sandbagging on because The Lion King is kind of, Frozen 2 is maybe on some days it's my favorite Disney movie.
So I'll go with Frozen 2 on you. Because for me, I could go either way. You could make an argument that tells me why Frozen is the greatest of them, and I go, okay, you can tell me why Frozen 2 is. So I just kind of go with whoever tells me which one's the best. You say Frozen 2, I'm going to go with Frozen 2.
Okay.
I think for the second one, you have a lot of other good options. I mean, you have Encanto, you have Princess and the Frog, you have Tangled. I think Moana just edges them all out. And we talked about, like, in terms of the Battle of Lin-Manuel, I think Moana edges out Encanto, but I think Moana, the first one, not Moana 2, edges out the rest of them in terms of soundtracks from that modern era. So I think we're going to go Frozen 2 and Moana. So our top 6 are going to be Beauty and the Beast, and this is in no order, Lion King, Hercules, Tarzan, Frozen 2, and Moana.
I completely agree.
Okay. All right, so that wraps up this week's show. We will conclude.
That was a long one.
We will conclude next week.
Thanks for hanging around.
Again, go to our Instagram at Enchanted Ears Podcast so you can vote on the top songs. We will reveal that next week. We will also go back through out of our top 6 and rank those. That wraps up the show for this week. I want to thank everybody again for listening. If you've not done so, please leave us a rating or a review. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.